Hello, everyone, and many thanks for your attention, for joining this stream. Of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on and or will watch video after live stream. I will publish short clips from this live stream also on both platforms, on YouTube and Rumble, for those members of community who might have no time to watch entire video. Well, today is 28th of May. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and hopefully you will find it informative and useful. And well, before I start, I will just say that during the previous 24 hours, I did not receive no commentary or the question through any of their support platforms, PayPal, Boosty, Patreon, others, to highlight during the stream. So therefore, if there will be any questions or the comments during the stream on support platforms, I will react on it after news segment. Otherwise, I will end stream after news. And well, without further delay, let's start this update. And first of all, of course, I have to report about yet another statement of U.S. President Donald Trump, which was full of hatred towards Russia, full of threats. And if anyone had any doubts that, well, Trump was just playing the games while talking about the escalation with Moscow and basically gaining some time for globalists, Western ruling class, then I guess after these statements, no one will have any doubts. U.S. is in war with Russia. Full stop. That's it, man. Right? And well, U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested that his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, is playing with the fire without elaborating on what exactly he means. In recent days, Trump has increasingly criticized the Kremlin over what he perceives as a lack of progress in the peace negotiations between Moscow and Kiev. Who the hell is Trump? First of all, let's start from here. Who is this freaking animal, man, to say anything to Moscow or to anyone from Russia? This freaking bloody clown, man. Last week, Trump and Putin held a phone conversation, which was a mistake. Russian president should not waste time to talk to this nobody, during which they discussed their prospects of a peaceful resolution to the Ukrainian conflict. Both leaders characterized the call as productive. Yeah, of course. And you know what? Let me show you a post of Trump. And let's read it. He posted this crap on his True Social network. Let's go through it. What Vladimir Putin does not realize is that if it were not for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. Threat, and I mean really bad. He is playing with fire. That's the statement from Trump, by the way. And whichever you take a look at this, it's a threat, right? It's clearly a threat against Russia, against Russian people, against Russian president personally. Also, I will argue, and I'm quite sure, by the way, Trump and also most likely Keir Starmer, President of US and Prime Minister of UK, were briefed about a recent attempt to assassinate Russian president while he was visiting Kursk region, right? 100%. And well, after these statements, one may argue, you know, what he meant, in which direction situation gonna go from now on, and you know, I can share at least a few takes on that. I think, as I predicted many times before, we are already in the next phase of escalation, which is already happening, and I think situation gonna further deteriorate. And I think we should keep in mind that Chancellor of Germany just like a couple of days ago stated that all the restrictions on the transfer of long-range weapons to Kiev regime and use of these long-range weapons have been lifted by US, Germany, UK, and France. And many people start straight away talking about Taurus missiles, that the statement of Merz means that either Taurus missiles, German long-range cruise missiles, already being delivered to Kiev controlled territory or will be delivered soon. But many people miss their point because Kiev regime already has weapon systems that can strike deep into Russian territory from 500 to 800 kilometers, maybe even deeper than that, potentially. And what I mean is that, NATO countries already provided Kiev regime with their F-16 fighter jets, Mirage fighter jets. Kiev regime still has several Su-27s and the MiG-29s. Maybe even Su-24s are left. And we all know that France and the UK for a long time now are transferring to Kiev controlled territory Storm Shadow and Scalp PG cruise missiles that have range about 300 kilometers. And technically speaking, it is quite possible, and I think Russian side should be ready for such a development, that NATO countries might conduct long-range deep strike into Russian territory with their these missiles that will be launched from the planes, F-16s, Su-27s, MiG-29s, Mirage 2000s, while these planes will try to penetrate Russian airspace on a low altitude so that at least majority of them would not be seen by radars. And they might launch these missiles some, 300 kilometers away from Russian capital, and they can actually conduct a massive strike with missiles on Moscow, right? So that's the one possibility that things may develop. Long-range, large-scale missile strike on Russian capital, because seems like NATO countries are very keen to harm Moscow, because lately we all seeing significant increase of strikes on Moscow. And I have news on that today also. And that's one scenario, by the way. I expect a large-scale escalation. Something big is about to happen that will change calculus of everyone, right? And another scenario that I expect will be, deployed or implemented is that, most likely Western ruling class will revive through its propaganda outlets topic of transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. So soon, in a couple of days' time or a couple of weeks' time, we should expect another wave of articles after articles after articles on this topic that, because West is struggling with the weapon deliveries and so on, Kiev regime has enough expertise and materials to build atomic bombs. So I expect this scenario to be implemented also, of transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear regime. And at that point, I guess no matter how much Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to exercise restraint, he will just have no option but to take action, because millions, tens of millions of Russian citizens, lives of Russian citizens will be at risk. So something big is about to happen for sure. And therefore, I think Moscow should stop play longer these games that NATO is exercising right now, and should take much more stronger stance, because you cannot talk to these creatures, man. You just cannot. It makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, you tell me, dear friends, what is your take? Would you have any talks with the representatives of these hostile states? We can call them globalists, Western ruling class, whatever, neocons, and so on. But would you have meaningful talks with them? Would you trust anything? that comes out from Washington, London, Berlin, Paris, or other Western countries that are controlled by this, Western ruling class or whomever. Most likely you would not. And Moscow should not, right? And of course, these statements of Trump did not fly well worldwide, actually, and neither in Russia. And the former Russian president, Dmitry Medvedev, and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, responded on Trump's statements that Russia is playing with fire, or the Putin. So deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, commented on the Telegram channel on their statement by the US President Donald Trump that Moscow is playing with fire. We have a quote from Medvedev here. As for Trump's words about Russian President Vladimir Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know one really bad thing: World War III. I hope Trump understands this, he wrote. And well, clear enough message from Moscow, but you know what? At this point, no one is taking seriously these messages from Moscow, in the West for sure, right? And that's why I'm saying it is really, I understand that Moscow is trying to demonstrate to whole world that it is all about de-escalation and was always open to resolve this crisis. Root causes, but to do so, root causes should be addressed, right? But clearly diplomacy has its own time, and some other steps has its own time. And I think now it's not time for diplomacy. Time for diplomacy has run out, and Moscow should take decisive actions against Russian enemies until it's not too late. Because, as I said, already lives of tens of millions of Russian citizens can be in danger and very soon. Let's see how the situation develops, but I am definitely not optimistic. So much so that, second time since the beginning of a special military operation, I had to talk to my family, my wife, about possibility that soon new wave of mobilization maybe will happen, and we have to make sure that all the documents, everything, all papers are in the right order, so that if I am mobilized and then KA8, killed in action, there would be no issues with whatever support country can provide to my family. In that case, it's important stuff, by the way. First time I had to talk about these topics with their family when mobilization was partial mobilization was declared a couple of years ago, and I think now situation is about to escalate so much so that maybe Moscow will have no option but to resort to mobilization. And we all should be ready, by the way. All Russian citizens, we have not just rights but obligations too. And when it comes to me personally, I'm here, and we'll do whatever I can to be useful for country to defeat our enemies, right? Meanwhile, Trump's special envoy, Kat Kellogg, another neocon, by the way, another neocon, dirty animal, really. And I'm not apologizing, by the way, for using this extreme language in regards to this despicable elements like Trump, Kellogg, and the rest of the garbage that is in charge of collective West, at least formally. I have no respect for these animals, man, and will never have any respect for them. And if you don't like it, by the way, you can unsubscribe and do whatever you fit necessary. But this creature, Kellogg, commented on Medvedev's reaction on Trump's threats. Let's go through this information here. U.S. presidential envoy for Ukraine, Kat Kellogg, has accused former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev of warmongering. I mean, can you imagine, man, how despicable these dirty animals are? that they are talking about warmongering of other people. I mean, it's, I don't know, man. It's just so wrong and in so many levels that it's hard to even comment on this, right? Blin. And we have a quote here. Stoking fears of World War III is an unfortunate, reckless comment by Medvedev and the unfitting of world power, Kellogg wrote on X on Wednesday. He added, President Trump is working to stop this war and end the killing. Really? And that's why US is transferring weapons to Kyiv regime. That's why US leadership just a couple of days ago tried to kill Russian president. And don't tell me that US intelligence didn't knew about that attack on the Russian president's helicopter. Of course they knew. So, I mean, if anybody takes seriously anything from these animals, by the way, Trump, Kellogg, Stammer, Macron, and Merz, and the rest of the human scum, then I can only feel sorry for those people, man. These are the disgrace of humanity, these elements that formally are in charge of the West. It is what it is. And Kellogg, this scum, also went to say that US is awaiting Russia's submission of a memorandum outlined its terms for a ceasefire. I mean, unbelievable, man. Who tell these freaking idiots that they really are in a position to demand from Russia anything whatsoever, right? I was saying from the beginning, by the way, that it is a huge mistake on part of Russian side, Russian media, for example, state-run media, by the way, when they were portraying US as a sort of a mediator, because it was a shameful step, because how US can be mediator in its own proxy war against Russia? I mean, how that is even possible, right? But yet again, man, that's where we are. That Kellogg now is emboldened so much so, I don't know why, but that he is demanding from Russia submission of the memorandum. Last time I checked, it was direct negotiations between Moscow and Kyiv, right? So why should Moscow submit anything to Washington? I mean, what's going on, dear friends? I am losing understanding of this situation, man. I don't know. I hope you have better reading of the picture, and please share your take. What's going on? But this is just too bad, man. This is insulting, actually, to Russia, that some freaking uneducated, dirty animal is demanding from Russia something to be submitted. Man, what the hell, man? What is wrong with this world? Vzгляд newspaper is meanwhile reporting that US already received Ukrainian terms for peace deal on the conflict. Okay, Ukraine is their proxy, right? Kyiv regime is their proxy, and therefore they can do with each other whatever they want. But Russia don't have to do nothing. Russia is not obligated to US by any means, right? And these idiots should choose their language before it's not too late in Washington, right? They should be very careful with their freaking language, these animals, man. And another one, by the way. I mean, what a day, isn't it? I mean, RT is reporting here that a US senator pushes mega tariffs on Russia's partners. So US Senator Lindsey Graham, well, another scum of humanity, has claimed that his plan to hit Russia's trade partners with 500% tariffs would help President Donald Trump push Moscow towards the peace deal with Ukraine. And, according to reports, he already has majority support in the Senate, and most likely his bill will pass Congress also. And you know what? Let them do this. Let them do this. I think it is absolutely necessary. Rest of the world, to say finally that enough is enough, and to start isolating collective West in the practical terms. And if this bill is adopted, that will actually help this world to isolate this extremely inadequate collective West countries' leaderships, right? because 500% tariffs on China, that will kill US economy, by the way. That will just simply kill US economy. That's what's going to be, right? 500% tariffs on India. Okay, just do it, try it. 500% on tariffs on other allies of Russia. Well, I'm telling you, dear friends, in my personal opinion, if this bill will pass, that will help tremendously this world to finally take some real steps, concrete steps, to isolate collective West, which is run by morons, right? Mass murderers and genocidal maniacs. That's the elements that are in charge of collective West. And I think vast majority of informed people in this world will agree with me. 100%. I have no doubts about that. So, I mean, here in Russia, reaction on this report will be exactly as I just said. Bring it on. Just bring it on. Let's go all the way. And then you will find out. Meanwhile, TASS news agency is reporting that a new round of talks between Russia and Ukraine to be announced soon. Okay, let's go through some details here. Moscow will insist that Kyiv repeal all discriminatory laws in Ukraine in a new round of direct talks, which will be announced soon. This was stated by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the international meeting of high-level representatives in charge of security issues. Lavrov recalled that direct negotiations on all issues of conflict settlements in Ukraine were resumed in Istanbul on May 16. At these negotiations on May 16 in Istanbul, and this is quote, when they resumed, we insisted on the abolition of all these discriminatory laws and will continue to do so in the next round of direct negotiations, which will be announced in a very near future, the foreign minister said. And well, it seems like Lavrov is quite optimistic. He thinks next round of negotiations is going to take place. I would not be that optimistic because, dear friends, just last night, earlier of this morning, Russian air defense systems intercepted some 300 drones, about 300 drones that were launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory and kill as many civilians, as many people as they possibly can. Does it looks like, and by the way, this is a trend for how long now, right? This is daily occurrence. And does it demonstrates that either collective West countries or their proxy in Kyiv really intend to negotiate with Russia in good faith? I mean, come on, man. We all are grown-up people, right? So I don't know. I mean, Lavrov is a heavyweight diplomat, and he is going to be diplomat always, right? And he is using diplomatic language. He demonstrates some optimism in these statements, but let's be real. There might be no more talks, direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv until unconditional capitulation of Kyiv regime and their Western masters. Let's see. But right now, I see no reason why should Moscow talk to anybody from the West, and of course to anybody from Western proxies in Kyiv. There is no point in that, right? Rest of the world is in Russia's support anyways, right? Rest of the world, by the way, is waiting this collective West, this Western ruling class, this warmongering genocidal maniacs to be defeated, right? And this will happen, and therefore, I don't think Moscow needs to demonstrate its goodwill anymore to anybody. I mean, world is already has decided where it stands, right? There is a collective West on one side and the rest of the world on another side. It is what it is, and it's gonna stay this way potentially for decades to come, right? And well, TASS news agency is also reporting that President of Russian Federation addressed today this 13th International Meeting of High Representatives responsible for security issues that is taking place here in Moscow, I believe. And let's go through this news. The new security architecture must be equal and indivisible, whatever that means, man. I don't know what that word is. All states must receive guarantees of their security, but not at the expense of others. This was stated by Russian President Vladimir Putin in an address to this gathering that is taking place here in Moscow. More than 100 delegations worldwide are here from world, by the way, with the exception of Collective West. Collective West is already separated from rest of the world, right? And maybe few people from Collective West countries are participating in this meeting, but not the official delegations from the Collective West countries. So West is already isolated, by the way, and let's continue on this path, right? We all understand the globalists and their allies, being neocons or Zionists or whatever, they are existential threat for humanity, and we should isolate them. It is what it is. It's absolutely necessary if humanity wants to survive, right? At least another century. So therefore, this direction should be continued, and the West is already isolated. In many ways, more needs to be done, right? We have another quote from President. As for Russia, our approaches remain fundamental and unchanged. I have said more than once, and I will repeat, we are convinced that the new security architecture must be equal. That is, all states must receive firm guarantees of their own security, but not at the expense of their security and interests of other countries. Said the Russian president. Okay, I mean, understandable statement. He said that before too, and in this regard, stand of Russian leadership, stand of Russia has not changed. And hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.